Hello, masculine. Hmm. What an interesting time we find ourselves in. I see that you've been staring into the funhouse mirrors again, gazing at distorted reflections, projecting a need for extra protection. I see how tangled and tied up you feel. And I know that everything just seems entirely unreal. It seems like when you go to pull what you thought was your sword from its sheath, all you find in your hand is a roseless stem of thorns. Doesn't do much for protection and tends to hurt the hands to hold. And it's interesting while this war of roses seems to rage on around you, as I sit here doing nothing more than observing and carrying on about my own whimsy. And then for a time you'll come into my mind, sometimes even into my vibration, and you seem to be emanating this desperate energy of desiring the sanctuary of the complete control I once held. I understand it, and it probably feels like there would be nothing more divine in a time like this to have somebody else take control. I could definitely understand the feeling. There were many times in the plot twists of our tale where I desired nothing more than to surrender complete control. I mean, I know we started out with the power dynamics in a funny way, but I think really I always saw you more as the dominant sort. I never really took store in the image of you as a cuckold to anyone. Though then it dawned on me one evening that we all must learn to crawl before we can walk, and that sometimes what really gets the pride going is when we try to run before we've learned either of the first two, and then find ourselves frustrated that we can only run so far before we fall flat. And then we have to crawl anyways. And I know in your own ways that what you're really seeking is to not have to be in charge of something and to just have someone to know exactly what you want without requiring you run a whole carnival by yourself in order to feel like you deserve it. I know that it would be nice to be able to put the blindfold back on and turn the headphones up and just surrender. It's an interesting experience I've been learning to surrender to on my own. To spirit, that is. To let spirit take the wheel, and even when I fear, to know I'll always find my way back to faith. To know that everything is always working out, especially when it seems most like it's falling apart. Which is why, my dearest, I cannot give you the help that you think that you want. does not mean I will not offer anything. But I think I'm really getting the hang of this listening to spirit thing. And what my delightful intuition suggests is simply to let you enjoy your mess and to continue releasing control until, well, your own manifested sensory deprivation runs its course and you feel like you've punished yourself enough to put the mask down. And maybe even then intentionally paint yourself up like a clown and really delight in the divine comedy that is life. Because, oh, dear masculine, nothing in life needs to be taken so seriously as you, my dearie, tend to take it. Which is fine. I mean, whether a flaw or a bad habit, it is just sometimes the way a silly rabbit acts. Not recognizing that tricks are for kids, and there are so many more wonderful ways to spend life than to be afraid of one's own shadows. And so while this peddled war wages on, whether only in imagination or not, I am here, masculine, whether you believe it or not. And I know that I've proven myself again and again and again, just like one of the many times I made sure the knots were tight and there was no light, and that the music was usually perfect for what we would do that night. And then let you know that I was going to walk away. You were anxious that I might not return, but you always knew in your heart that I would. Just as you knew anytime I took off your shoes and tucked you into bed after a far, far too drunk all-night bend, that even if I wasn't right there next to you, I was never far. And so as you make it through this cosmic, karmic carnival of both fortunate and unfortunate events, the best kind of help I can give you, dear masculine, is faith. Is the recognition that I see you the way you saw me. And that underneath the machismo and attempts to maintain complete control over everything that feels like it's crumbling in your life, that you know that I am your friend, and I am always nearby when you are ready. And that the moral of the story is that some mistakes are made, and that is all right and okay. And at the end of the day, it only matters what you learned.